Hi everybody, I am going to be back today with a new episode, but kind of an old one because I'm just going to be recapping the things that I knit or produced in 2024. My last episode was also a recap, but I just kind of covered some of the designs of the latter half of the year, whereas for this episode I will talk about everything that I knit in 2024. Even though some of those items I don't have in hand, they've been given away or lost, or my children are currently wearing them. So let's get started. First off, I'm wearing my Jensen pullover. This is a new pattern this year. It is to be released next week, January 23rd. That's a Thursday. Make sure that you're signed up for my newsletter if you would like to buy this pattern, because there will be a discount, a very significant one, for a very short time. So you'll want the newsletter so that you can be sure you will be notified. I also posted on Instagram, but my posts don't get seen by very many of my followers, so the newsletter is the safest bet. So this is the Jensen. It is a top-down V-neck with a little bit of color work on the sleeves and the body. I talked a little bit more about this in my previous episode, so you can check it out there if you want to know more about this one. But this is also something that I finished in 2024. So this episode will not be in any kind of order. I have not created a list or taken any notes. So it's just going to be a hodgepodge of everything that I worked on, and whatever I see in front of me, I'm just going to talk about. So first off, what I see is the Bud and Blossom pullover. This is also a design from 2024, and I talked about it a little bit in my previous episode, but I did not have this sample. So this one was sent to Finland to be photographed for Lina's book, 52 Weeks of Junkie Knits, and I just received it back last week. It is worked up in Custom Woolen Mills 3-ply, all Canadian sourced wool, and processed and spun in Alberta. And yeah, it's a cardigan with snap closures. So you sew the snaps on instead of buttons. I just felt like that was a cleaner look for the front of this cardigan when there's already so much going on in this texture. It has front pockets on either side that are worked in pattern so that they are sort of seamless. And I don't know if I can show you. Yeah, there's like a liner here, pocket liner just in stockinette, so the inside is stockinette with the outside being lace. Sleeves are in garter. It's worked from the bottom up to these. It's completely straight, so there's no shaping in the body or the armholes, and then it's just decreased in this garter section. And a double folded collar is done so that it stays nice and high and has structure. And some semi-fitted sleeves, not too balloony. Yeah, it's because of the garter. Garter creates like a thicker fabric, so it is kind of tight on your arms. Yeah, so that's the Bud and Blossom. It is not available from me. It is available through Lina, through the purchase of the book. So one day I will independently release it, but for now you can get it through Lina. Yeah, so peeking behind the Bud and Blossom is this little hand towel. This is a pattern I released in March, I believe, early last year, and it is made in cotton, and yeah, it's just like a bathroom hand towel. I use mine personally as a exercise cloth for when I do hot yoga, which is in a room heated to 40 degrees Celsius with a lot of moving. So a lot of sweating and you need something to wipe your face occasionally. So that's what I use this for. It has a lace section and baubles, and I created a video tutorial on how to make those nice baubles. They never poke through the opposite side. There's a little trick that I do so that they actually physically cannot poke through the backside, so they always stay nice and perky on the front. I also have a video tutorial for this pattern if you're interested in figuring out how I did this fun little stitch that looks like crochet. You can check that out on my YouTube channel. So this is something that I use on a weekly basis, this hand towel. I kind of wish that I had done it like a little bit bigger. If I made it for a bathroom hand towel, I would definitely want it a little bit larger. Next up, try and work through our garments here. This is a sample of the garden party pullover. That was a design that I released in 2023. It is a top-down, seamless, in the round, contiguous set and sleeve / compound set and sleeve design. And the original pattern is done in fingering weight. Sock yarn held double, so kind of like a scrap stash buster pattern. But my original sample is very colorful. I wanted to do a sample in just a single strand of worsted weight yarn in a more neutral color so that people could see how that looks and how that fits. So this one's done in Cascade 220, not the superwash, just the straight up wool. The pattern is written so that you work inside out, so that the finished sweater is reverse stockinette, but while you're working it, you're working in stockinette. So you're knitting the vast majority of it and not purling. So this, I actually didn't knit this one. This one was knit by my sample knitter. And so I've included it in my list of things that I've knitted, but I didn't personally knit it, but I did produce it in that I paid someone to do that for me. Yes, the neckline is shaped back and forth with increases and cast-ons, just to be aware of that. This is not short work. This is not short rows. And the garter helps kind of shape the neckline as well. And there's some ribbing along the shoulder cap. Yeah, so that's the garden party pullover. Next up is the, oh yeah, it was this one next. This is the Marin. The Marin is a simple striped short sleeve tee. It is again a contiguous / compound set and sleeve, so there is a lot of armhole shaping. There is neckline shaping in short rows for this one. So I don't know if you can see, I definitely appreciate shaping necklines back and forth more than short rows. I find short rows you cannot get it as far down as I like a neckline. Kind of chokes me all the time. So you can see in this one, the neckline drop is quite a bit more than the short row version. So it is a different pattern, so yeah, there's a lot of differences, but that's one of the main ones. It has, I can't remember if I talked about this in my last episode, but I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I was pretty sure I didn't talk about anything from the summer releases, but maybe I did talk about this one and about the jogless stripes So I won't linger too much on this because I feel like I've already done it, but it's in Wool Cotton Mix by San Nisgarn, their duo. And it has a split hem. Okay, one thing I definitely did not talk about last episode is the Ancient Orchid top. This is a pattern that actually will be coming out this spring. I did not finish the test knit and the final edits until almost September, so I decided not to release it as a pattern last year. But it is something that I completed. It has this interesting little picot lace that I created along the edges here. It's all done as you knit, so you actually cast on each strap here. I think you might actually work the back first just to kind of get your armhole shaping. I think that's how I wrote it. So it's been a long time since I looked at this pattern. So you start with knitting this little strip in double knitting. So you actually work this as like a tiny little snake almost, and then you pick up along the edges and you work down and shape the armholes, and you work the edgings as you go, so you don't have to pick up at the end to work edgings. And then when you're finished that, you cast on this strap and you work it to the length that you desire before starting the v-neck, and then you work the v-neck shaping. And this edging again is done as you are working, so you're working this edging, and this stockinette that is shaping the armholes all at the same time and shaping the v-neck. So that's quite a lot to keep track of, so just remember that, keep that in mind. I personally despise going back to pick up an edging, but when you're doing it this way, it's a lot of different sections to keep track of. So if you're not comfortable maintaining a stitch pattern on your own, like it's not written row by row, so this stitch pattern gets you established in the first section where there is no shaping, and then it's up to you to remember what row you're on for the rest of this as you continue to increase along these edges here. And then you central double decrease for the v-neck edging there, and then work down, and there is a slight bit of A-line shaping along the bottom. You can hardly even tell, but it just gives you a little bit of extra room around the waist, a little bit of movement. And then at the end there is, I'll try and get my head out of here. The problem is that if I get my head out of there, I can't see what my screen is looking at. So there's a folded edge with a nice little way of making that ridge. Sorry about that lack of focus, but it's not a purl bump, so it just like creates a nice edge along, folded edge along the bottom. And yes, so it's been a long time since I looked at this pattern. It was fully test knitted, tech edited, ready to publish, but I would actually like a few more people to knit it before I publish it. If you're interested in that, you would get a fully finished pattern. It would come to you as a PDF in its full layout, and you would just knit it as it is. So really, it's like the best test knitting experience. You basically get a free pattern, because had I been ready, I would have published it last year as it is right now. So if you're interested in that, I would love to have 1 or 2 people per section of sizes. So I usually do 9 sizes. I would love to have a tester or 2 for sizes 1 to 3, a tester or 2 for sizes 4 to 6, and 1 tester. I'm sure I wouldn't get any more than that, but for sizes 7 to 9 would be amazing. It's done in a sport weight I believe, although I think a lot of people did it in a fingering weight sock yarn type yarn. This one is a mix of wool and cotton. And I will put all the yarn information will be in the description below, and the information about this video, not the comments, but the information that I posted about the video, I will put all the yarn names there. It's just too much note taking and figuring out before I sit down to talk about it. So I will make sure to include that information, but it's a non-superwash wool and cotton mix, and I think people achieved gauge with this superwash sock yarn, but I would have to double check on that one for you if that's what you'd be interested in using. So if you're interested in knitting that, I would like to get that started soon. You can email me at thebluebirdbox@gmail.com or send me a message through Instagram, or even a comment below. You would then have to still message me on Ravelry or Instagram or something. So you can comment below, but we'll have to connect through some other means to get you the pattern. So yeah, I would love to have some more ancient orchid tops out in the world. And that will be coming out this spring sometime. I haven't decided on a date. Probably May would make the most sense for my audience. Okay, I see my little skirt. So this is something I finished quite close to the end of 2024. And it is this cabled skirt. Done with these little alternating braids. And it has a double folded waistband and a button closure on the back. And this is something that I finished for Christmas Eve. And I wore it at my the Christmas Eve service for our church. And it was like so cozy warm. I was just loving it. The only thing is that I made it too big. So it's a little bit heavy, and it's a worsted weight wool. It's called Galway Highland, a Peruvian wool, non-superwash, really lovely to work with and really affordable, and has really nice stitch definition for cables. But it is a bit heavy, so you really want, and because it's ribbed, it tends to stretch out. So I really should have had a lot more negative ease around my waist in order to help it keep its shape. A lot of people have said that they would like to see this as a pattern. I would also like to see that, but grading skirts is something I've never done. And because I increased this in pattern, it adds a level of complexity there. It's different if you're just doing a stockinette skirt, then it would be easy to just increase to whatever stitch count you needed. But I found with this, like I needed a lot more difference between the junk in my trunk and my waist. So some people would have that issue too, where the measurement around your hips is quite a bit larger than the measurement around your waist. So I don't know how to remedy that in pattern. So there's a lot of things to figure out that are not very easy for me. So I don't know. I forgot that there was also a snap. So there's a button here, and then I added a snap because it was too wide. So I had to like pull it in even more. And one of my favorite parts of this skirt is how I got the ribbing to the ribbing to flow into the cables. Yeah, so hopefully I can maybe figure that out sometime in 2025. Okay, moving right along. I think I'll talk next about these. So in my last episode, I talked to you about the Homegrown Hoodie, the adult size, but that started out as the Homegrown Hoodie, the kids version. That was the first one I did. This is actually the first one that I did. This is for my third child, my first daughter, and it is a yeah, so I did this for her. I just kind of like winged it, and I used Heron to bulky weight cotton boucle, which she loves. She's very sensitive to wool, so she really appreciates the softness of this sweater. However, it was like really hard on my hands to knit with that yarn, to try and like find your strand, not knit through some fuzz on the end. And I just found that cotton not very forgiving and tough on my wrists. But she loves it. She's very particular about knitted things. She doesn't even like the feel of like an acrylic knitted item. She doesn't like the pearl bumps on her skin. So for her to wear this was a huge win. So I did that without ever intending to write a pattern. You can see how much she's worn it because there's some paint there on her shoulder, which you would think I'd be upset about, but the fact that she wore it enough to get paint on it is thrilling. And it has a front pocket and a hood, all the things a hoodie should have. And the front pocket is done seamlessly, like worked as one piece on the front so that there's not a super obvious seam there. So anyway, I finished that one, and then all my other children, so I have 4 kids. She has 2 brothers who are older than her and a sister who's younger. And all 3 of them also wanted a hoodie. So that's the thing about being a knitter for a largish family, is that you have to be careful what you knit because you might be committing to doing one for the entire family. So the next one I did, I believe, was one for my 14-year-old. And this one is done in Estelle worsted, which is a mix of wool and acrylic. And I have got to say, I love this yarn. As much as I dislike acrylic, I love this yarn for a non-wool option. So it still has a little bit of wool in it, so I feel like that's better than 100% acrylic. It's also nicer to work with when it has some wool. It provides a better fabric in the end. Like, it's not that nasty plasticky looking. It's a really nice heathered color, and they have a lot of nice colors in that yarn. And yeah, and he, like, for a 14-year-old who cares what other people think about what he wears, I did not think that he would ever wear this, but he did wear it. He has worn it. And he does his own laundry. And I mean, my own fault that I didn't sit him down and explain how he was not allowed to wash this. But it was in his laundry basket, and he just threw it in the washing machine, and he threw it in the dryer, and I almost cried. But you know what? It didn't even felt, and it still fits him. So, man alive, that's a great gift knit yarn. If you don't want to use all acrylic, breaks your heart like it does mine, that Estelle worsted is really good. And then I made my second son one in Estelle worsted, no, in Estelle double knitting. So it's the exact same composition of fibers. It's wool and acrylic, but it's in a DK instead of a worsted. So I was able to achieve gauge with both those yarns. This one's a little, so you can see, this one's a bit thicker and sturdier. So if I did it again, I would probably use the worsted over the DK. But if you're looking for something that's kind of like drapey and a little more stretchy, the DK is nice too. So I also forgot to mention that the kids all came to Statement Junkie, which is my local yarn store, and picked out the yarn colors that they wanted. So I told them what yarns they could pick from, and then they picked the colors. So green for my oldest, my second loves red, and Evelyn likes purple, but not like a girly purple, that kind of burgundy. And then Rosie, my youngest girl, picked this one. So this is it's 100% wool, I think, and it's like a fuzzy yarn. I should have brought this strand, but it's like not very spun. And so that means that it felts really easily. And this one, like, I hand wash this and it still keeps shrinking every time I wash it. So this was a Katia something. So this one was Katia also, this cotton pluma, and this is a Katia something. And of course I will list all the yarns and colors below. But yeah, I would not do that again because she loves it, but it's already like, it's too small already because it fit her perfectly, and then it has like shrunk a little bit. So you can kind of see. I don't know if you can see how it's felted a little. Maybe on the sleeves it's a little bit more obvious because it like rubs in her coat and stuff, but yeah, it felts super easily, so just be aware of that. Yeah, she did love it though. Just didn't have quite the length of life that I would have hoped. I did knit some hats. This is a Musselburgh. Yeah, I don't know, not much to say about that. Knitted that one by hand, and it's my daughter's now. It's a superwash sock yarn from Creative Knitter. And then I knit this ribbed. It's like a ribbed Musselburgh, but that's not an option in the pattern. Maybe somebody in the Ravelry projects did a ribbed version and put some notes, but I just kind of fudge it whenever I make a ribbed version. But it's top down. You do some rows of knit 3 in a row in order to keep your ribbing going. And it was just out of some leftover yarn I had, so that we had an extra hat in the hat box. And I think my last real project for 2024 there was a blanket, a baby blanket I also knit, but I don't have it anymore. It was a pattern, so that's something that you can look through my designs to see. It's a color work blanket, worked from the center out. But I think my final thing that I have with me is this stack of blanket squares. So the start of 2024, I decided to start a Scrappy blanket project. So I took just tiny scraps from my stash and I held them together to create like an Heron weight gauge, and I knit from the corner to the other corner. This is not a very pretty one. I'm going to put this one down. I don't like the colors in that one, but yeah, corner to corner, and I did 6 garter ridges in one color and 4 garter ridges in another. So it almost looks like they're the same width, but they're actually not. And that actually is more pleasing to your eye than the exact same number of garter ridges. So just do it a little bit off and it looks a little bit nicer. So these are all scrap blanket squares. This one's a little bright. They're not exactly the same size, but I just hoped to block them out to the same size and then sew them together. And this is just a project like when I don't have anything to knit. So often I'll have a design that's at a stage where I have to go and work on the computer for a while. Or I need to figure out some numbers and so I can't work on it anymore, then I don't want to ever have a day where I don't knit. So I just have my box of scraps there beside the couch and I can pick up some new yarn balls and start another one. So how many was that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 of those. So a long ways to go to make a substantial blanket, but the point of it is more so just to have the ability to knit whenever I want and play with color and not get too fussed about it. So it's just kind of a background thing that keeps going. Easy to cast on, easy to bind off, easy to start a new one, easy to leave it behind and for months on end and then pick it up again. I think that is it. That's all the projects that I finished in 2024, except for the designs that I talked about in my last episode. So I just thought I would talk quickly about some of the upcoming works in progress designs that I'm working on currently that you can look forward to in 2025. First off is this Ancient Art Yarns, a fingering weight sock yarn. They are coming out with a collection of designs that use their sock NATO fingering weight yarn in a variety of colors, and so you can look for one of my designs in that. It's coming out in April, I believe. So, and also if you would like to be part of a secret test knit, just pay attention to my newsletters. This is also something that I hope to cast on in 2025. This is Gepard Garn, Wild and Soft. It is a silk and wool blend. This one's in the color Tobacco, and it's a very thin fingering weight yarn. I don't know what I'm trying to show you there. I don't think this is very helpful. I'm holding 2 strands there, so that's not even helpful at all. Okay. Anyway, it's really nice. I love this color. It seems very unique. It's like sort of a cool brown. So yeah, I need to figure some things out for that. And then test knit that is coming out. Actually, I should have released the newsletter this morning calling for test knitters, and has all the details there. But this is the Marin, so the Marin short sleeve. This is the long sleeve version. I'm working on the body right now. The sleeves are done. Not blocked, obviously. But if you can see, the stripes are actually two different colors, I mean. There's mohair and then not fuzzy greenish, and then that golden green again. And then the sleeves are done with the, so this is like a linen alpaca yarn, sport weight yarn, and then you hold that together with the mohair to make these long ribbed sleeves. And it has this high neck and the same top-down construction as the Marin, so you can try it on as you go, and then it will have some more length here, and then it will have a long split ribbed hem, longer than this, I believe. So yeah, if you're interested in test knitting this really long, I mean really really long ribbed sleeves, and I don't know why I keep showing this one, it's not been blocked. This one has though. Well, the newsletter's already gone out, so if you're interested in test knitting that, you can email me or send me a message on Instagram and I can get you the information so you can see that test knit. I think that's it. So yeah, just cruise through that stuff. So yeah, I hope you have had a wonderful start to your new year, and that you have lots of knitting projects you're looking forward to. And do you have any background projects that you keep working on intermittently, like my blanket one, or do you always start and finish a project immediately following the next one? I love to hear from you, and thank you for watching. Bye.